that course in Harrington's something else.
Oh yeah.
When we first started playing it, and it had the baskets that they'd built, it was crazy, man. I mean, just the fly swatter and the one that had leather straps hanging, and I mean, it was some crazy shit.
All right. We'll go in like 10 seconds. I can't find my countdown thing today. I don't know where it went.
Okay.
All right.
I just changed my whole thing. Why did it do that? All right, a little bit longer. I closed something out and then it changed all my panes that I had freaking set up. Everything I just said.
Are y'all hoteling it or what?
We got us a little Airbnb, a little house we're sharing, the three of us. Me, Luke Potts is here with us too.
Oh, cool. I ain't seen Luke in years. Tell him I said hello.
He heard you. He's
You just
6
did.
feet away.
Hi, Harv.
Yeah, we're 8 minutes from one course and 12 minutes from the other. We just played 2 courses
That is too cool.
and only 5 rounds.
Really?
Yeah.
Only 4 guaranteed. You gotta earn the 5th one.
Wow, that's weird. I wonder why.
1 round a day is all you get.
Where's
One
that
round
at?
a day.
I forgot.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you'd at least get to play 1 on each course.
Well, you only play 2.
Good. All right, what is up, everybody? We're live again. KDJ podcast, Oz Tour with the Wind Dummies. We got Harvey Barger this week. We got a little bit of a weird connection thing. Harvey won't be able to hear me, but he'll hear Ronnie and Smitty. So we'll kind of let him run. We'll let them run with the show, and then we'll kind of go from there. So Ronnie and Smitty, take it away.
Connection and a little bit different for them, so that's perfect. So yeah, you probably noticed that Ronnie and I are in the same place here, everybody, because well, we're in Arizona. We've been here for 2 days. We thought we were going to die yesterday walking up mountains, and they sell Harv. Can you believe they sell canned oxygen?
Really?
Yeah, you feel good and you just take off, man. It's like superpower.
How much does that cost?
Say what?
How much does that cost?
It's cheaper than you think. It was like $10 for a bottle. And yeah.
Hey, it's keeping this old fat guy alive, so we're loving it.
And right on the bottle it says
and are you hooking into the rope and shit, or
no, you don't have to hook into any ropes. You just walk.
they're giving you oxygen, you never know.
Yeah, well, it's I've used it. I've hit it. And right on the bottle it says oxygen has no weight. This can is full. So you don't throw it away. So all right, well, yeah, and we've got Harvey here. It blows my mind that there's a whole generation of disc golfers in Kansas that don't know the name Harvey Barger. So Harv, we are excited to have you. We've been looking forward to this for a whole month. So
Yeah, I've been looking forward to trying to get Harv on ever since we started doing this. I mean, it was one of the first people that Chris and I said someone we got to have when we did this, because for people our age, people that have been around the game as long as we have, Harvey kind of was Kansas disc golf to a lot of us. So this one's a cool one for me.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
Well, thank you, fellas.
yeah, you bet, buddy. Hey, we always start with 3 questions. Ronnie has he calls it 3 from the tee. So he's gonna take off here. I'm gonna go grab we placed a bet on one of your answers, so we'll let Ronnie get
All right, Harv. The first question: Can you remember the first disc you ever had?
The first disc or the first Frisbee?
Either way. How about the first golf disc?
The first golf disc I ever had was a 40 mold that I bought from Wally Dugan in Ponca City in 1981, and it was a Midnight Flyer, and that was before they made golf discs. Next year they come out with the what was it, the Aviar, and they called it an Eagle, and then my first 3 discs were Frisbees. They were the old classic Midnight Flyers, and I still have them.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
That is great.
The big one's busted. When I bought the big one, we used it when we were still playing Ultimate, and in the wintertime when it gets cool, Frisbees shatter, and so we were using my Midnight Flyer, and finally we were a little overzealous one time and busted it, but I still got it.
Were you playing a lot of tone pole courses or object courses way back at the 80s?
When we first started, we started playing Ultimate, and we went to a tournament in Oklahoma City, and at Woodson Park, and as we were playing, I noticed there were pole holes there, the old original Mach 1s, and I asked one of the Oklahoma City fellas for the jam. I said, "Hey, what are those?" And he goes, "Them's pohos, P-O-H-O."
Pohos.
And I said, "No." I said, "What do you do with pohos?" And he goes, "You play disc golf," and that's D-I-S-G-O-F. Pohos for disc golf. And I said, "Oh, okay, cool." So after the day of golf or of the Ultimate, Marty and I went over and played a couple holes. And we were laughing about how, what a silly ass game when you play that. You know, because when you're an Ultimate player, you're arrogant naturally. It just comes with the territory. So when we first started golfing, we had no etiquette. We just we were Ultimate players. We always carried a 165 with us, so we'd be throwing the disc back and forth as we were walking down the fairway, and we'd run in front of people and stuff. And they're like, "You can't do that." And we're like, "Well, maybe you can't do that, but we can do that." So our introduction to golf, that's where I first learned about disc golf. And when we first started playing golf instead of Ultimate was because we couldn't field a team anymore. And in Little Winfield, we kept it up for 4 years, but finally there was no longer a team available. So we started playing golf, and being an Ultimate player and playing freestyle and stuff, we had an affinity for it. So, and took right to it. And you meet as you guys well know, you meet the greatest people playing disc golf. There's not a sport out there that has higher quality individuals. And I've met some of my greatest friends through disc golf. So it's just a wonderful sport.
Perfect segue to question 2.
Well, I think Dennis got his start at Woodson Park as well.
Really?
His
was Riverside in Tulsa.
Okay, but it was in Oklahoma. But
Yeah, Tulsa, Riverside.
Same kind of story. He and his family were just, I think he said they were driving by and they saw it. And yeah, so crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
The Riverside course is crazy. That's just like in the middle of town, and it's down along the river.
Yeah.
And it's like a strip of land it's like playing them holes at Oak Park that are down by the river for 18 times. It's a fun little course.
So you almost, it's almost like we asked you to segue to this question. So the second question, Harv, is you get a fivesome. You're one of them. The last fivesome you ever get to play, you get to take any 4 people ever with you. Who's the 4 boys that are joining you in your fivesome?
This is a dream.
Any people you want.
I'll have to say steady head.
Oh,
Must have steady head.
We suck.
we're terrible at this game. Go ahead.
I'd say
These can be
Brad
people you
Patrick.
can call as well. You can just call them up and say, "Hey, look, bud or dude, sorry, we probably might give you one." You can say, "Hey, man, about to play around. Let's go hit it." So it can be anybody.
But it's your dream five. You got
Your five.
Brad Packett.
Oh yes.
My brother. And Richie.
Well,
we got one.
we tied at one.
We each got one.
Here's my list, Harv. I figured. Well, we both said Dave.
We had three of the same.
We figured Dave. I said Buddy Kasner. I figured Mitch.
Buddy.
I figured
Buddy.
Mitch would be in there.
Mitch too grumpy.
And then the one that we differed on is
But we almost had the same.
I said Marty Watt.
It was close, man. It was close, but Marty doesn't golf.
Yeah.
And I had Artie Hicks. And we had the other three that we had the other three the same. We both had Rich, Mitch, and Bud.
Well, see, now if I went for living people, you'd have hit most of them. Because I would have said Artie, and I would have said Dave. Definitely Marty. Dave Clift.
Oh yeah.
And I would throw Buddy in there.
I assumed Bud would make the list.
Yeah, Bud's a grumpy little bastard, but he's still my brother, and I love him.
Hey, he's getting grumpier too. Just to let you know.
When we turned 50, Buddy, it was like a switch turned in him, and he just started saying shit that you might think that you would never say, and he'd just spit it right out. And we were like, wow. So Rich and I called him Brutal Bud. Brutal Bud. It's true, man. That's it. The things he says, it kills you. But no, he's a great guy, and I tell you, honestly, he's the guy that I named the trophy after that we give at Beloit, and it was an honor well deserved.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Buddy, for all his gruffness, would give you the shirt off his back.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
We'll get to some of those here in just a second, or maybe right now. So the third question we always ask, and it can mean whatever you want it to, Harv, and it's kind of a vague one, but your favorite disc golf memory, disc sports memory, whatever it is for you. Do you have one? I know it's hard to pick one.
Man, that's a tough one.
Everybody always says that. Maybe I ought to change it.
I'm trying to think of something that whenever I think of disc golf that I think of.
Like we can see the deals, we don't know who's saying it. Someone said when he beat me. Who said that, Gerber?
Clint Donaldson.
Oh, that's a common thing. You can't have 100 memories.
One that comes to mind that I've talked about several times, and I've heard Rich tell before. We were playing the end of the year skins tournament in Wichita, and we were playing the damn over the pond shot.
Before you go any further, Harv, this was my favorite disc golf memory.
Really?
It was.
And some pros that I'm not sure who they were standing in front of me, walking in front of me, talking about how they were going to split the money or some shit. They'd already counted me out because I'd fell in the damn pond and I threw a little UD thumber up over their heads and landed in the basket and won like 11 skins.
All of them.
And that may have been one of them. That always comes to mind when I think of old pond shots. So.
I've talked about this one with Smitty
I've heard about it
several times. It was so good. That's up there in my favorite memories because that was one I will absolutely never forget.
One of the reasons that's one of my favorites is behind me, walking behind me about 8 feet is Buddy and Dave. I can't remember who was with them. And Dave, in classic Rich form, is narrating the entire thing. and like, we could hear you guys talking. And I mean, and honestly, it felt like you just completely forgotten. And I turned around, looked at Dave and smiled. And Dave, oh no, they've counted him out. That's the worst thing they could do. And I can hear him behind me. He's doing the whole time. And I threw that one out. He was like, oh God, it's great. It's like, I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I can just hear Dave after you make it. Big loud crowd.
Half of it.
Pretty good. That's a great one, Harv. I'm glad you shared that one because that's probably my favorite Harv story.
That's great.
All right. So now we got some questions that we've kind of made up and we've got from viewers and whatnot. And one that we hit right at the very end is we want to know what all the Valley rules are. We hear about them. They've been modified over the years by people who don't really know them. But what are the official Valley rules?
All right. When Dave and I originally started playing, of course, we were the only people in Winfield. And like Marty, he didn't play golf. He played ultimate with us. But we'd have people come down from out of town, but usually it was just us. And our first 2 courses were at St. John's and Southwestern. And Southwestern had a couple of hills that the holes were on. So your disc would roll back to you sometimes. Well, we were, I can't remember who was there, but we hadn't been playing for long and it rolled back to his feet. And I said, you know, that was a gift from God. You ought to throw that again. And he threw it again. And from that day forward, that became a rule. And originally it had to roll back to you. It's gotten modified now where you can stretch out as far as you possibly can. That's a Rich edition. You know? Rich loves modification. And the PDGA was going through, as it always does, confusion with rules, and it decided that, in its infinite wisdom, that a disc that was thrown low, but that crammed into the side of the basket was good. But one that floated up and by some fucking miracle landed on top wasn't good. And that pissed us off. So we said, well, that can't be here. So here, on top's good.
On top counts.
So that was always a rule. And since it was only Dave and I, and we were never people to really go and warm up, we would always throw 2 off the first tee. So that was a Winfield rule. And we would go to courses where people were so stickly about silly shit, you know. You're back in the shrubs and you're sitting in the middle of poison ivy with a sticker bush wrapped around you, and you bend a little branch out of the way and throw your disc and someone pitches at you. We always thought that was wrong. So in Winfield, we've always let you move things in your way, or at the fairgrounds, we would let you chop things down. You know, I mean, it was just because we didn't want to be beat because the little stick got in the way. I want to be beat because you beat me. But that's pretty much the four.
Yep. Do you know the PDGA switched that rule? They said at one point, if it goes through the outside into the cage, it was no good. That was for a couple years, but now and then they said, you had to see it though. You had to see it hit from the outside. Like if you threw over a hill and it was stuck and you walked up there, that was good. But if you saw it, it was no good. Yeah. So they got rid of that. If it sticks it now, it's good. But on the top is still no good.
See, that's the problem with rules committees. They make rules. So, if you're going to establish a rules committee, you have to be willing to put up a little bit of ridiculousness. That's, I mean, hell, when I started Smitty, 2 meters was OB.
Right.
Now, how in the hell do you measure 2 meters? Everybody carries a 2 meter stick with them, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, and I always thought that was one that we never counted. We never counted that OB. So that was another Winfield rule, but it fell by the wayside. But it always seemed to me ludicrous that my disc is an inch below 2 meters, and it's great, and I get a deuce. And yours is above an inch, above 2 meters, and yours, it's a stroke. It's like, kind of arbitrary bullshit is that? So I figured the first people that started were little small people, and that was as high as they could reach. So that's got to be out of bounds.
Well, you walk down the street and ask any American how high is 2 meters, and 9 out of 10 can't tell you.
Well, hell no.
Well, it's about like this.
I can't.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep. So now we know the official Valley rules. I was wondering if the reach out or layout or whatever that counted as the official rules, because that's what it's morphed into now.
Yeah. No, originally it had to roll back to you, and then it started, we'd give you a step, and then before long, dudes are laying on the ground on the hillside. You get Mike Tazinski laid out on the ground. He's got like 8 feet out there.
Easily.
He covered 30 feet,
So one question we wanted to know is, you were there when the whole KDJ thing started. We just kind of like to know the conversations behind it a little bit, the people who were involved, and what you thought the overall plan at that time was, and when exactly, if you can remember.
Well, let's see. We started at KDGA. I'm thinking, I'm going to say 86, 87 maybe. We when we first started playing, there were only 7 pole hole courses in the state, and most of them didn't have tournaments. To get a tournament, you went to Hayes, Kansas City, and then most of our events we went to Oklahoma. We played everything in Oklahoma. We played Stillwater, and I played 20 little towns in Oklahoma, and so as more and more of us started to play, and looking around, everybody else had all the other states had their own organizations and with their own goals in mind, and it kind of morphed over a year or two of talking with a bunch of us, and there was a guy that no one likes, but he can't deny that he was there, Mark Jennings. I don't know if you ever met Mark.
Mm-mm.
Mark was one of them unique guys. He was vice president of his dad's oil company. Every relative in the Jennings family was vice president of Mark's dad's oil company, and so he was one of a kind. And but me and him and Jeff Priest and Buddy and Rich I'm not sure, but I'm thinking possibly Jack. There were like 7 of us originally that got together and said we've got to come up with some kind of a organization and start playing all the courses in the state. And then so when it started out, Mark and I were pretty much did everything, and I wrote the newsletter, and then I don't know, probably I'm gonna say 3 years in, I quit writing a newsletter, and then a couple years later, Mark left. I took back over, started up the newsletter again. I ran it for about 3 years, and then you know, it was one of them deals where I mean, I had some great memories of the Katie's Yak. I remember the first year that I ran it all by myself. I called my sister up in Florida and I asked her. I said, "Hey Pam, I'm running the tour this year and I want to offer a prize to anyone that goes to every event." I said, "Would you give me a you know, a couple rooms in your hotel? Should that happen?" I said, "The likelihood's almost 0." And she's like, "Well, yeah, sure, I'll do that." And fucking lo and behold, Scott Reed at Kansas City made every damn event, and Ron Converse made every damn event. And so I had to call my sister and say, "Well, I was wrong." And but she went ahead. She didn't have a problem with it. So gave me free tickets. I'd saved money throughout the year from the KDGA fee that I was collecting off of and everything. So I rented a car, and I was going to rent a van to take us all, but Ron and his wife, their son or their daughter, I think it was their son, I'm not sure, wasn't able to take care of their kid, and they kind of adopted their kid. So they had a little baby with them. And I said, "Well, man, we're going on vacation." And they were like, "Well, we know, so we're going to take our car and they're going to follow us." And so we did that and went down there for a week, and that was interesting, getting to know those people. But that's a whole nother story there. But I do have to share one thing about Scott and Lori, though, that was really funny. As when we're driving down, Scott's like, he looks at me and goes, "Harv, what's muscatine?" And I said, "Muscatine? Man, I don't know." I said, "Where did you see something that said muscatine?" He goes, "Well, there was a sign back there." He says, "I'll show you in just a minute." We're driving along, and another sign comes up that says Muskogee, 25 miles. So from then on, every time there was a sign that had any possible alteration in how it would be pronounced, I'd say, "Scott, what's that sign say?" He kept us going the whole damn ride. I mean, it was hilarious, man. Muscatine. But then we get down there, and my sister, she's taking us out to fancy, you know, seafood restaurants and stuff, because hell, you're from Florida. And I noticed Scott and Lori having a tough time. I said, "Hey, man, what's up?" And they go, "We don't like seafood." And you come to Florida, to the Keys for a week, and you don't like seafood? Oh, it cracked me up. They were hilarious. They ended up buying a box of bologna and a loaf of white bread at the grocery store. They had something to eat while we were there. Oh, man.
That was one of my questions was, did you think anybody would ever play all the events? And because I remember Ron and Scott both, they've talked about it 100 times. Did you think anybody would play all the events?
Not a chance in hell.
Yeah, I didn't think you did.
I knew I would, you know, because I was running like hell. I TD'd 15 of them that year, and then hell, there were 28 events, and they made every damn one of them, man. I mean, way the hell out in Colby and
Norton.
Oh yeah, all them damn out in the middle of nowhere places.
Yeah, and probably Stockton was on that tour.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
Ron's here in Flagstaff. He's playing in Grandmasters with Smitty.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I love Ron. Ron, he's a great guy. He's I don't know. He's Ron.
He's wrong. That's the perfect description of it right there.
Ronnie and I played one of the courses yesterday, and we loved it. We thought it was amazing. Uphills, downhills, just beautiful. And we bump into Ron. He says, "Well, that course sucks. Wait till you play this other one." We played the other one. We hated it.
That's funny. Wow.
That other one kicked my fat ass all morning long. I can tell you that.
Luke's wife walked 10 miles on one course.
Holy moly.
And this is this kind of 10 miles on rough mountain. You're on the side of a mountain.
All kinds of loose, like lava rocks everywhere. It's hotter than heck.
Do they have water out there and stuff?
Yeah.
They got probably not as much as they ought to. And of course, it's just practice rounds so far, but we don't start tournament till tomorrow. But yeah, they had it out there for us. They're taking all right care of us.
Good deal.
But I can't.
I figured they would.
10 miles.
They're a class club.
Say what?
I said I figured they would. They're a class club.
Well, they the field events were at least 1.5 miles from the headquarters.
Really?
And we walk up there and they're like, "We're shuttling people out to the field events." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And this little SUV that seats 5 people pulls up. And that was one of the shuttle vehicles. They had 2 shuttle vehicles that could carry 5 people at a time.
Wow.
They shoved
I
my
saw
little
it.
butt in the very back where you put your luggage. Hand up
Right.
back there.
And everybody and their brother took pictures of them, and they're all over Facebook.
Okay, so that's what those pictures were.
Yeah, I saw
All
pictures
right.
y'all shoved in there.
Two
Yeah.
little. They weren't even like Suburbans. They're like
That thing
Chevy
looked like
Blazers.
a Hyundai, the back of a Hyundai.
Little soccer mom cars.
Like-
all around.
You can't do a hayrack ride or something? Come on.
Really? A tractor and an old flatbed? Come on. That's
Yeah. All right. So next thing we want to know about is the Frizz. When did that start? And do you have any idea what the highest attended Frizz was?
We started the Frizz in '89, and we played a tournament that we called the Winfield Open. Started it in '87, but the Frizz actually started in '89. And what'd you ask me about it?
If you can remember the biggest one.
The biggest one was we had 328 people.
What?
Yeah. See, and I'll tell you, the deal is early on when we started doing tournaments, like, I don't know if y'all ever played Ultimate, but in Ultimate, you go to the tournament, you play all day Saturday, and you go to a big party Saturday night. So everybody mingles and gets to know each other, in a social atmosphere. Then you play again on Sunday. Well, at golf tournaments, we started playing golf. You went to the tournament, you played. If it was a 2-day event, as soon as it was over, you left. And you came back, got your trophy, and you left. Well, I always thought that's bullshit. Hell, the best part of the thing was the social part, getting everybody together and hearing their stories and stuff. So when I started doing the Frizz, I wanted to have a party every night. And we started out, we only did we had the tournament was on our first tournament. We did it one day, and it was Saturday. We had 27 people, and I think we bought 4 cases of beer and drank it right there in Cherry Street Park. Then as it kept going, it morphed into 2 days. About the 4th year, I took it to 3 days. 6th year, I took it to 5 days. And but during that whole time, the funding for that was coming from illicit marijuana trade. And once that fell through, when we got busted, I didn't have $3,000 to throw in anymore. And so wasn't able to offer the amenities like we did at one time. But that had a lot to do with growing it. Plus, every tournament I ever went to, and I'm sure y'all remember, I'd get up and I'd invite everybody. And I would do that. We had a tournament we'd go to in November in Oklahoma, and I would get up there and invite them to the Frizz, and it hadn't even been a month, since it was on, and that always cracked them up. But we never did any other kind of advertising. But a lot of that's what brings people. You get up and you hype it up, and people that have been there cheer and clap, and they're like, and then they're telling people, and it's been funny. I'd walked up on groups before that were talking about the Frizz, and I'd kind of walk up on the fringe, and they wouldn't see me, and there'd be a guy there, and he'd go, "Oh, you got to come. You can do anything in Winfield." And I'm thinking, really? News to me. We always went to jail when we did a lot of that stuff. And they're like, they're exploding fireworks. At that time, you couldn't shoot off fireworks in Winfield on the 4th of July. So you really couldn't do it in October, But the city let us get away with so much stuff.
Yeah, they do.
They've been so tolerant.
I've seen some crazy things there too. I've seen Sean Mann's broken leg on his fell out of his golf cart. I don't know how many golf cart wrecks you've had there.
Oh, what's funny about all this? Like at least 90% of the injuries that happened, I didn't hear about till the next year or 2 years or 3 years later. No one tells me. They were like, it's funny. You'd think that I would be the first one they'd come to. Like Shannon, the dude from Dallas, was one year was there and doing real good. And Sunday comes and no Shannon, and that was weird. So for the third or the fourth round comes up, and I asked some guys there. I said, "You guys were with Shannon." I said, "How come he's not playing?" They go, he had to go home." I go, "What happened?" "He broke his collarbone." And I'm like, "When?" And they're all Saturday. Yeah. He got thrown out of his golf cart into a telephone pole. And I'm like, no one tells me nothing, So, yeah.
What was the boat?
The minnow.
The melon.
That's what I was going to say was the melon.
The minnow was Gilligan's boat.
When we first started playing and started the Oz Tour up, one of the first ones that we added in was Minas Junkanunga in Topeka. Well, at the clubhouse, I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be a little clubhouse there at in the park, and it had a big wooden sign that someone had taken and routed the words in, and it was like, no drinking, no dancing, no melon. And it was like, what the hell? So one year at the Frizz, we always thought that was so funny. So one year at the Frizz, one of the years it was big, I used like Kinko's or someone and made real fancy ass fucking flyers for it. But we gave everybody, I bought these little gourds, but they looked like pumpkins. And we gave everybody a pumpkin in their player's package. And part of the draw, we told them, so you can sing, you can dance, you can drink with your melon. When we got the boat, that just naturally fell into place, calling it the melon. There's a lake here in Cali County, the state lake. It's out south and east of town. And they used to have these pontoon boats you could rent. And we'd go out there camping and drinking and rent the pontoon boats. And like, they were real funny pontoon boats. It say you got 4 people on the pontoon boat. Well, I'm back here and I'm driving the pontoon boat. Well, the 3 people with me decide that they meander up to the front of the boat. It lifts the propeller out of the water. So you're sitting there going in the air, and you stop moving, and you're like, "Why ain't we moving?" It's like, "Because you guys pulled the propeller out of the water." That was the melon.
Did it come from out there?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bart and Cliff bought it. They had when they sold them all off, and I think they paid $100 for it. And that son bitch, man, it was more holes than pontoon, and they were always. I mean, they stuffed all the cells full of foam. Cliff one year bought up J.B. Weld. He emptied the town. He emptied Ark City, and ended up going to Derby on a third J.B. Weld run. trying to steal that son of a bitch up so we can make it back and forth across.
This is the scariest 60-foot boat ride I've ever taken.
Oh, man. No, she was a craft, I'll tell you. She never sank. And we never had to paddle her.
Nope, she ran good.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a disc one year that featured the melon on it.
Yep.
Yeah. And it said, don't worry, she'll float. Because we had to stop it. We told 1 million people that.
Your feet might get wet, but she'll float.
Yeah, she'll float. Pick up a tambourine, bring yourself across the damn thing here. No, the melon's great. That was back in the days when we were playing the Daniel or the Redford's Land, playing the original Water Hole, and that's a beast of a hole there. That was fun. That was fun. Did y'all ever get to play that?
Yep.
That was before me.
No, I played it.
Did you? Cool.
Yep.
The Water Hole. That was something else.
About a par 11, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was. I never saw worse than a 16, and I never saw better than a 5.
It was long, man. It was forever.
Yeah.
And discs didn't fly very far then either.
Crazy John.
Maybe I just got an 11.
Yeah. Well, Crazy John got a 5 one year, and Mitch got a 5 one year. Other than that, it took you a good solid shot to get across. Another one to get to the road. And then you had to decide either am I going to go up the road or should I continue further down and try and make it over the top? So if you did everything perfect, you got a 6 or a 7, you know. But so if you got a 5, that was incredible. Nowadays, probably, dudes, I guarantee you there'd be 3s on that son bitch now.
Yeah, they throw so far.
Throw down all the way to it, and then they throw 1 right up over the top and drop it in. So,
Harv, these kids are all freaks. They're all 6'3", weigh 112 pounds. Their arms are 9 feet long, and they throw it 800 feet. Every one of them.
Right. I want to see these kids in a slapping contest. But they can slap the shit right out of them. You see it coming from now too. Because I don't want that.
So,
organize that. Get that on TV. You motherfuckers go viral.
You go viral. So what about the AM Worlds that happened in Wichita? You were the TD for that, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Or was it doubles? Was it doubles or was it AM Worlds?
No, it was the first AM Worlds. I named it AM Worlds.
The first one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what happened was, on that one, there was a guy named Steve Lambert out of North Carolina. And have y'all ever heard of Boylan Family Farms?
I've not. That
was an old course, man. And I guarantee you, when people speak of it, it's like, oh, because oh my God, if you ever got to play that course, it was in the middle of a Christmas tree farm. And Bill and Sue Boylan, they ran it. And sweetest people you ever met. And, people say that they're Hicks in Kansas. Go to North Carolina. I mean, wow. Nice as hell. Totally nice. But I mean, wow. These dudes, man, they were rusty. And we qualified to make the first AM Nationals. Steve Lambert's running this tournament, AM Nationals. And you had to qualify, and we did. So we get the flyers and stuff, and first thing it says is it's got 2 hotels that you can call. So call the first hotel, ask the guy, what's the rate? He tells me. And I said, all right, well, thanks. I said, I'll call you back in a little bit. So I dial up the phone, call the next hotel. Same guy answers. And I'm like, well, I just talked to you. And he goes, yeah. I said, so there's 2 hotels? And he goes, oh, yeah. I said, and you own them both? Yeah. I said, well, what's the difference? And he goes, well, one of them has a mountain view, and one of them has a swimming pool. So I'm thinking, and I go, well, we'll take the mountain view because we can always go over and use the pool. So I thought, we'll take the one with the mountain view. So he says, all right. So Rich and I fly out, and we drive out, and like when you go out you get on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and middle of the night, dark as hell, and there's no signs, nothing, no signs saying Lost Springs 5, nothing, and we're just driving. I don't know what we're hoping for, but you have to pee, so we stop. And Rich was driving. I get out, and I'm peeing, and I'm talking to him on my shoulder, and I look ahead of me, and like the headlights kind of shining off to the side of the road there, and I can see a sign, and this sign says, "Welcome to Lost Springs." And I'm like, "We're here." And there's like I'm serious. There's like this little road that leads off the road there, off the highway. So we drive down it a couple miles, and you get to Lost Springs. Well, Lost Springs is 2 hotels, an abandoned gas station, and an antique store. That's it. And had to wake the guy up to get our hotel room. He was not happy. And he's like, reception desk closes at 6. And it's like, damn, all right, dude. So we go into our room and go to bed. Next morning, get up, and I'm like, got to see this mountain view, right? Because we couldn't see nothing because it was pitch black when we got there. So I go out and open the door, and the back door, it opens about a foot, whack, and hits the handrail on the little tiny ass balcony, right? So you've got to slide out, shut the door, slide past, and open the door, and another guy can slide out. And so I get out there, and I look at the mountain view. Mountain view, all right. I could just damn near reach out and touch it. It's rising directly up in front of my face, straight up. And it's like, that was the mountain view. Yeah, there's the mountain right there. And so we're laughing, well, we got screwed there. Should have took the pool. We get in the car to go to the tournament, drive out of the parking lot. You can see the other hotel over there. The pool, half of it's where it's supposed to be. The other half broke off and it's laying in the creek. So we won. Mountain View way better than the pool. Oh, it was so funny.
That's so good.
But then, when it was all, Dave and I both spent like $600. And this was back when air travel was pretty damn cheap. This was in '89 or in '89, and '89, and so the award ceremony, everything took forever. There were all kinds of different events. I took second in putting, took third in distance, sixth in golf. We won the team event, and I can't remember. I think that was it. But you accrued points towards the prizes at the end, right? One of the prizes was a big screen TV. This was like, whoa, and it was one of them back projection, big, huge fucker must have weighed 1,000 pounds. That was the big thing that he got, right? So we couldn't stay for the award ceremony or we'd have missed our plane. So we had to haul ass. Paulson was there. So Paulson picked up our prizes, right? And Rich was playing in the AM division. I was playing in the advanced. Rich was in the AM. Rich took like 9th. And so we see Bill a month later. And Dave's like, hey, you got our prizes? And Bill kind of looks funny. He's kind of sheepish looking. He goes, well, yeah. And Dave's like, well, give them to us. And so Bill reaches in the back of his trunk and comes out with a Coleman lantern, right? Now, I could go to the Coleman store, pick this lantern up for like $16. That was what I won for taking all those plays, doing all that good and all that stuff. I got a Coleman lantern. Well, Dave, he's cracking up, right? So I can't wait to see what he got. He got a Swatch watch, a $7 Swatch watch. So needless to say, I was a little irked about it all. Well, a friend of mine, Paul Stone in Oklahoma City, had just become PDGA commissioner. And they were in the process of transferring all the files from, I think it was in Tennessee, to her in Oklahoma. And I talked to them all the time. Well, I just casually called her up and was talking to her about the tournament. I wasn't bitching to her, actually. I was just talking to her. And she goes, well, Harv, there's stuff you don't know about that tournament that you really ought to know. And I'm like, what do you mean? It was like the guy that won the tournament, his name was J. Gary Dropchip, and he's Pennsylvania. And he won first in golf. He beat me in the putting. He won distance. His team took second in the team golf. So he virtually won everything except for like one event. He didn't have enough points to win this big screen TV. You couldn't win this big screen TV. You couldn't win a lot of the stuff. And Lambert kept all that shit. That pissed me off. But I said, I was talking to Paul, I go, you know, I said, that's kind of a good deal. How do you get in on something like that? And she goes, put in a bid. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, well, Steve's already told everybody he doesn't want to do another one. So you just put in a bid and you can do it. And I said, oh, well, all right. So I sent him in a bid to do the 1990 AM National Tournament. And I was going to do it in Winfield, but we didn't have a course. And the course in Wichita, we had originally put in Central Riverside. Well, the people there, oh, my Lord. That's a dozen stories in and of itself. But they ended up having it yanked because they didn't like it. They preferred the crack dealers there and the whores more than they wanted the disc golfers, which is really weird, but true. So so I put in this bid. Well, I got it. And I get the bid. Well, like at the AM Nationals, that first one, we were calling it AM Worlds because it was all amateurs. And there were people from Canada, and there were people, a lady from Austria, and someone from, thinking, somewhere in South America. He was just like a foreign exchange student. Still, it was international. And so a lot of us have been complaining all along. We're like, what the hell, AM National bullshit. So when I got it, I called up Kent Johnson, who runs Massive Graphics in Oklahoma City, Norman, and told him I was going to do it. I asked him if he'd run my stuff for me. He owned a screen printing company. And he's like, well, that depends. And I said, on what? And he said, what are you going to call it? I said, well, you think I'm going to call it? It's that fucking AM Worlds. And he goes, all right. And that's how we decided. We decided it was going to be AM Worlds. Well, that really pissed off the PDGA, mainly Rothstein. And Rothstein was communications director at the time. And, they were hot. And I'm at a tournament in Kansas City. The PDGA has already awarded me this event, right? And I'm standing about 3 feet behind Rothstein. And he's talking to someone. I can't remember who it was he was talking to. He knew I was there. And he's telling them, yeah, well, I think it's going to be a piece of shit. And I don't see how an ultimate player can run a disc golf tournament. And, I was hot. And so I walked around. And I said, hey, Rick, how you doing, man? Like I hadn't heard of nothing, He's like, well, hello, Harvey. And dickhead self. And I said, hey, I don't know if you've heard, but I'm running which I knew better, but I said, I don't know if you've heard, but I'm running the AM Worlds. I said, and I'd love to have you down. I said, if you come down, I'll comp you a hotel room. And if you'd like to, you can write an article about it. And he goes, well, okay, I think I will. And I'm thinking, well, bring it on down, you bastard. And I had met Ed about, the year before. He was at Laurel Springs, and I'd met him somewhere else in Oklahoma. And I talked to Ed, so I talked to Ed at length a couple of times. And I thought, what the fuck? So I called him up. I said, hey, Ed, remember me? It's Harvey. He goes, yeah. And I go, hey, I'm running this tournament. We're going to change it from the AM Nationals to the AM Worlds. And I was wondering if maybe you'd come out and be there with me. And you could help me give away the first ever prize to the first amateur world champion. And he goes, well, I'd love to. He goes, in fact, I'll bring you a pole hole. And he brought me a gold pole hole to give away. And such a cool guy. And Rothstein heard about that. All that pissed me. But they tried to stop me at every stage to do everything they could to make it difficult on me. They were supposed to send me a mailing list. Never got this mailing list, right? So I called Paula, and I'm like, Paula, I said, they're screwing me around. They won't send me this mailing list. And she goes, well, you didn't hear this from me, but they may never send you that mailing list. And I said, well, then what am I going to do? She goes, well, you just don't worry about it. And I said, okay, I won't worry about it. 2 days later, I got a mailing list from her that she had ripped off the computer for me because they weren't going to send me nothing. And so I started mailing out invitations, right? I've got about 60 replies back. And lo and behold, what shows up in the mail? The mailing list from the PDGA with an apology letter from Rothstein. Sorry it took us so long. And I just called him up and I said, Rick, that's okay. I've already mailed out 150 of them. I got about 60 of them back already. So thanks, but no thanks. And so it was amazing the friction they gave me. But then everything went flawless, man. It was perfect. We played, that's when the city gave us Herman Hill. And we didn't have the baskets in, but they let us use portables. And they let us use some of the actual baskets from Riverside. They still had big lumps of concrete on them, so we had big ass holes to put them in. But we laid one course there, and we put one in, what the hell's the name of that park? It's over where Priest used to live. Little old tiny park. Damn, can't remember the name of it. But everything went great. And Greg Pennegar from St. Thomas, Ontario, Canada, won. And it was such a great event. It was so much fun. But that's how that all came about.
That's amazing.
I was pissed off. We got ripped off, and I wanted to do it. And then I was pissed off because they didn't think I could do it. So, yeah, that's where it came about. And now we've got an AM World Championship.
Somebody posted that maybe it was Evergreen Park.
There it is. That's it.
Yep.
Evergreen Park.
Yeah.
There's a course back there again now.
It was 2 blocks down from where Priest lived. That's where him and Brenda, before he bought the tick ranch, he lived over there on the street right off of Evergreen Park. Yeah, that was cool.
Yep, they got 9 holes back in there now.
Cool. We played. That was always a course that Priest laid. It was an object course that we laid out. And the original course in Herman Hill was we originally went in there with paint, red and yellow paint, painted a red dot course and a yellow dot course, and so the original lay in Herman Hill was the original red dot course, almost exactly. It's completely changed now, but
that's awesome. That's an incredible story.
I mean,
we can't beat it.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to hear about the Mississippi Kite Ace.
Oh, that was Brent Edwards. That's Chief. We were playing. That was also in Woodson Park. We were at the Oklahoma State Championships one year, and it was so cool. Do y'all ever meet Brent?
Edwards?
Brent was yeah.
I think maybe, probably.
He was such a wonderful man. He was a giant. He was huge. He was like, I don't know, had to be 6'2", and long flowing hair, and great guy, great attitude, always in a good mood, and was playing terrible, having a god awful round. And we got up, I'm thinking it was hole 12, but I'm not sure about that. And Brett gets up to drive, and he shanks it, and he's going to miss the hole. Like where his disc is going to end up is going to be further than where we're standing from the basket. That's how bad it was. And it's flying over towards this big old huge pine tree. And it's probably, I'm going to say 80 feet from the pine tree, heading towards it. And this kite comes flying out of this tree. And it flies up to this disc, and we're all wondering what the fuck's going to happen. And this kite flies up to it, and it flows its wings out, and it's just like gliding along, and starts stepping on this disc. Just both of his feet just stepping on the edge of the disc. And it turns it, follows it, rides it, peels off with like 2 feet to go, flies off into the disc, goes, bazanga, man, I'm in the heart of the basket. And Brent never missed a beat. He turns around like every day a bird drives his disc into the basket. God, it was so cool. That was a true story.
That's
What?
possible. That seems like a real story.
Oh, I'll tell you.
God.
When it happened, man, there were no such thing as no one carried a camera with them, so there was no video. I mean, there was no cell phones or nothing. But
that one would have had 1 billion views if it would have been today.
Oh yeah. No, it was incredible. That
That's
was
crazy.
You know what was funny was we didn't even sign discs back then. There was no, there was like an ace was just us great, but there was really no massive recognition of it. Definitely didn't mark up your disc with a bunch of ink and stuff. Because back then a disc was a very, it wasn't like there was a big disc store you could go to.
Right.
Yeah.
It was someone's trunk. So
Oh,
that
that's
was
incredible.
yeah, I have seen some shit now.
Well, yeah. Let's hear about it.
I threw a disc one time in Harrington. The pond there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little peninsula, and the basket sits on it. And we were throwing back. There's the hole where you're throwing back across the pond to the peninsula as you're heading back towards the pool.
Uh-huh.
And I was throwing at the time, for no apparent reason. Bart and I went through a stage of only throwing trash can lids, those B-17 Flying Fortresses, them huge ass trash can lid size discs, right? And the first ace I ever hit was with one of those. And for some reason, we just I had 6 of them in my bag. I think Bart had 9. And I threw that big old beast disc out there, and it was short. It hit the water, I'm going to say 20 feet offshore, and at a steep angle, and went underwater. And everybody's like, oh. And then at about a foot from the shore, it spits out of the water and lands up about 8 feet from the basket. And I got a birdie. And it's like, it went underwater at least 10 feet. Just spit out. That was cool.
That is cool.
The Mulvane, the ace you hit in Mulvane.
The ace I
Did
hit
you
in
stick the
Mulvane.
squares for an ace in Mulvane one year?
The what?
Did you throw it through the front of the basket?
Oh, I'm sure I did. I don't remember that.
For the play, I think it was it's the hole that goes back to K15.
Right?
I'm pretty sure you stuck the squares for an ace on that one, because I wasn't but about 15 feet away when it did it.
When you're Harvey, that's not very cool.
I know. Harv's had 1 million of those.
I got one for you. We back when discs were still rare, and we were at the when we went to that 89 Masters or Nationals, there was a lookout point about I'm gonna say 8 miles from the Boylan's house from Laurel Springs, where you could stand in this little outlook area and look down at this lake that was down there, and it was like 1,200 foot drop, right? So this was the place where all the disc golfers would go to launch a disc golf, right? You had to do it ceremonial. Well, hell, we didn't want to throw none of our discs away, so we all drew, and whoever lost had to sacrifice a disc, and then we drew to see who got to throw it. So Dave Stubbs lost and had to sacrifice a Cobra. So I took this Cobra and I wrote on it, if found, please send to, and I put my address on it for massive reward of big bucks. And I throw it, and it's great throwing. It looks like it's going to, like we're thinking that there's no way you could see it all the way down, but we followed it for 30 seconds, right? And it was great, and we're laughing. And so we go back, finish the tournament. We go home. A year and a month to the day that I threw this disc off the out thing, I get this big manila envelope in the mail. And when I get it, I can feel it's a Frisbee in there, And I'm excited. I'm thinking, oh, man. who sent me a disc, right? And back then, I would get shit like that now and again from Innova and Disc Scrap, because I ordered a bunch of plastic from them. So they'd every now and again send you something, right? But I didn't even look at the address. I rip it open, and I pull this disc out, and it's this old dirty, beat up ass old fucking Cobra, and it's got shit written all over it. And I'm thinking, what the hell? And I turn it over, and I see my name. And I'm like, what the hell? And I put it back over, and I read it again. It's like, and then it dawns on me, this is that disc, right, that I'd thrown off there. And there's a little note in there. I take this note out. This little lady in North Carolina. Me and my son were walking along the path around the lake, and we found your disc. And we wanted to make sure we sent it back to you. And they sent me that damn disc, right? So I couldn't believe it. So I went and took a $1 bill down and photocopied it and had it blown up into big bucks and sold like 10 of them. But it was hilarious. I couldn't believe it. It was so funny. I'm like, what? And I still got that disc to this day.
Oh, that's amazing too.
That's so awesome.
That's so funny to get the disc, and I'm like, who sent me this piece of shit disc? No one even threw Cobras anymore. It's been a year. Come on, man. This made it drastic. We were up to Vipers now.
There's a guy at Professional Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I have personally watched him throw a Cobra over 400 feet multiple times this week. Luke Potts is throwing a DX Cobra.
Really?
Yeah, out of all the discs in the world, he's just leaning on this Cobra. It's probably the only one in the entire tournament.
Oh, it's the only one in the state of Arizona.
That's funny.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So, well.
Hey, are you guys in the Flying Disc Collectors Consortium?
No.
The Facebook group?
You all need to hook up with that site.
That's awesome.
I'm in that. And that is a group of the most wise people in the world of Frisbee you will ever meet.
I think Madison.
The guy that runs it, Gary Perlberg, a very famous guy, and has been there from day one, knows everybody, owns every disc known to man. I mean, and can answer any question you might have about anything. I mean, and if he doesn't, the people on the consortium can. So I recommend to you and all your people that are watching that you should check it out.
I'm going to check it.
The Flying Collectors Consortium.
I'm going to post it in the comments.
Great group.
Gerber behind the scenes back here, you can't hear him, but he said he's going to post a link to it in the comments. So
I'm in that. It's awesome.
Very cool.
I always my go-to is Chris Madison. Yep. If I have any disc questions, he's a long-time frizzer.
Sure.
He's got an incredible collection of his own. He's got a hat that Steady Ed wore, I think it's got like a painted scene on it. So Madison has that hat.
Pearl will have every week they do things to post stuff, and they'll have post your stuff that you have from the Frisbee Pie Company, right? So not being boastful, but Pearl posted part of his collection, and he has about 50 pie tins. He's got a stand upright pie case that they sold him in. He's got a jacket from the guys that delivered Frisbee pies and a hat from him. I mean, the dude. And then there's a guy on there named Bill Storm who has I've got a great mini collection, right? I've got over 1,000 minis. I always thought I had a great mini collection. I don't have shit, man. This dude, Bill Storm, has everything. One time I thought I'll blow their minds. I whipped out my old Bedrock Flintstone minis, and I showed them before, and I said, set of Flintstone minis, and I'm thinking that's great. And an hour later, I look on there, and Bill Storm had posted that, I was missing 2 colors out of that set, and the next year had 6 colors. And he had you must own a warehouse, man. I mean, the dude's, he got to have if he doesn't have 1 million minis, then it's incredible. So you get on there. If these guys can't answer your question, no one.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I mean, old school guys, old school guys.
So
Played at the Rose Bowl, 70, 76. These are dudes that have been playing forever.
yep.
Dudes that knew Fred Morrison as a guy, knew him instead of just as a legend that invented it. I mean, but yeah, that's cool. It was nice talking to you guys. So I hope y'all do really well down there.
Oh,
Well, we're gonna have fun.
yeah.
Regardless how it goes, but it's been a good couple of days of practice. We're ready to go. Starts tomorrow.
I tell you, Mitch was having a rough spin a couple years ago, and I told him, I said, you know what you need to do, Mitch? Have fun. Steady Ed always said, when you play disc golf, you should have a good time, because generally when you're having a good time, you play well. So if you have a good time, even if you don't play well, at least you had a good time.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that was for folks who don't know much about the Frizz, I mean, there's your motto right there.
Right? That's Steady Ed, man. That's the heart right there.
So
You got anything else for Harv?
I don't have anything.
We've already kept him for over an hour, so.
This is
Wow.
This is fantastic, Harv, man. Thanks for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I can remember when you and I don't remember if Dave was there, but I remember you were there. I lived in Ransom. We had just got a disc golf course for whatever reason. And I think that was the year that Reeks and Ron went to Florida, and you pulled up in that little white Honda Civic and hopped out in all tie-dye, and of course you won and did your whole, speech, come to Winfield and all that. And yeah, that was one of my first memories of you. And another great memory I have of you was 1 year after Harrington, you won, and you said something like, that's 26 wins in a row or something. Come to Winfield. So, yeah, I've always admired you as a player and a person, and I could just listen to your stories for hours and just laugh and giggle, and really expresses why people do love disc golf, is people like you,
Yeah.
just down to earth and great storytellers and just awesome people. So
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I mean, yeah, similar for me. I mean, when I first started playing disc golf, I was just a punk 20-year-old kid, and started going to tournaments not too long after, and Harv and Rich and Bud and all them guys out there telling these long ass stories, and even then it was you kind of got lost, admiration would probably be the proper term for me. I mean, it's always like I said to start with. I mean, for people like me or Smitty or especially us older guys. I mean, you were Mr. Kansas Disc Golf. You were Kansas Disc Golf to me, and still are to this day. So
absolutely.
Well, that makes me feel really humble. Thank you, guys.
You've earned it, brother.
Harv, this is gonna. I have a feeling this one might have a whole ton of views, man. So we appreciate you coming on, and we might steal you again some point down the road if you'll have us.
Whenever, man. I love you guys.
Absolutely. So, well,
if you were here, I'd love you, Harv.
You know that's right.
internet hug.
Love you, buddy.
Love you too.
Thanks, Harv.
Terrible. Good luck.
We'll see you guys.
See ya.